but take every opportunity. And if I'm talking now to someone who has children, a dad, get your kids to speak publicly as often as possible from the youngest age. It is so important. It is so important. That's why Scott Adams put this as number one, the number one thing in his skill stack: public speaking. Hey, how are you doing? It's Alan here from Looking for Warriors, and I want to talk about the skill stack. I'm talking about this book, How to Fail Almost Everything and Still Win Big, and the skill stack is the most important thing. It's the most important thing in this book. It's the only reason I'm reading it, although it's a very, very interesting book in general. But the skill stack, this is the core. And the first skill, I'm going to talk about Scott Adams' skill stack that he talks about in the book. And later on, I'll talk about my own couple of things that I want to add to it, because I built out my own skill stack at one stage as well. But the very first thing, public speaking. Public speaking, it's so important. It's vital. It's so important. And there's a reason that Scott Adams has his very first thing. I don't think it was the first thing on my skill stack when I think back at it that I wrote out that kids should learn. I think like reading or something was first, or typing, but this is so important. Public speaking. It's so important. Let me tell you a quick story. Let me tell you a really quick story. So I was standing there on the stage, and I was looking down, and there's about 20 faces. About 20 faces looking back at me. These weren't just 20 faces. They weren't just 20 faces. These were some of the most important people. These were some of the most important people in my town, which is Dublin in Ireland. Some of the most important people. As I looked down, looking back at me was one of the main solicitors, one of the most important solicitors in Dublin. One of the most important architects. One of the most important architects looking back at me, waiting to see what I had to say. There was people who owned flower shops. There was people in all kinds of businesses. There were builders. There were plumbers. It was only about 20 people. It was only about 20 people. But as I looked down and looked at the faces, I realized that, yeah, these are people who've been speaking since school. These are some of the elites I'm speaking to. Now, I was a normal kid who went to a normal school, who wouldn't have been taught this stuff. And I had to start speaking. And before you start speaking, there's a couple of seconds before you start speaking. And I've never had a problem in general speaking, but there's a couple of seconds before you start speaking when you look at the audience and they look back at you and you realize these are really important people. These are really important people. And they're waiting in anticipation. What are you going to say? We're looking at this whiz kid who knows about computers, who knows about the internet, who knows about digital. I was always seen as this little whiz kid who could fix computers, could sort out all the computer issues, could network things, could build databases and knew about digital. And I sold to my friends. I was in the design industry and I knew a lot of people in the design industry, and I would call them up, but they were friends. It was different. And I would do a lot of work for them, and my business grew by talking to people that I knew and understand, because I understood people in the graphics industry, the printing industry. So I've been in it for a long time. But now I stood there in a meeting with only about 20, 25 people. It's relatively small, but these are really important people. And they were also people who, they weren't people in my industry and I needed to impress. And those few seconds before you speak are stretched out. Stretched out. It feels like an hour. It feels like an hour. But I began speaking, and one of the people in the audience I prepared my speech. And it went really, really well. You can tell by the energy of the audience if something goes well. And it went well. And afterwards, there was a director of a business organization in Ireland, one of the main business organizations in Ireland. He came up to me and he shook my hand. And he said that, wow, that was one of the best speeches I've heard, which was one of the most amazing feelings for him to say that to me. No, I should have followed up on that and sold it in his organization more, which I didn't do. But just him saying that to me was the best feeling that you could imagine. Best feeling. That feeling that you get when you've done something good. You feel that you've done this thing really, really well and professional. But not only that, the people around you can see you. You know the people around you are seeing you do something really well and really professional. It was an incredible feeling. And from that one little talk, I got so much business. That I had to start taking on employees after that. And that's why public speaking is important. Public speaking is important. You're going to go to interviews. You're going to need to speak in public sometimes. Or you may just want to go up and talk to that girl you find attractive. Or you may just want to talk to strangers, be in a party and have that awkward feeling of just being quiet and not going up and talking to anybody. It's important. It's really, really important to learn how to public speak and take opportunities. Take every opportunity you can to speak publicly. And the first few times are going to be horrible. It's going to be absolutely horrible. Whether it's speaking on YouTube like this, whether it's speaking in an organization like joining Toastmasters and speaking there. But take every opportunity. And if I'm talking now to someone who has children, a dad, get your kids to speak publicly as often as possible from the youngest age. It is so important. That's why Scott Adams put this as number one. The number one thing in his skill stack. Public speaking. It is so, so important. So a couple of things about public speaking, which are really, really important. Number one, do a Kolbe test. You find this on Kolbe.com. I'm going to say now that I'll put a link in the description, which I probably won't because I keep forgetting to put links in the description. But you can find Kolbe.com. I'm sure you can find Kolbe.com. Go to Kolbe.com and in there, do your Kolbe test. It's like $50 or something. But it's going to tell you how easy it is going to be for you to public speak. Now, if you get a high quick start, it's going to be easy for you to public speak. If you don't get a high quick start, you might get a high follow through, high implement or whatever. They're all important skills. But if it's not high quick start, then you're going to have to work on your public speaking a little bit. You don't have to be the most amazing public speaker in the world, but you're going to have to work on your public speaking a little bit. Number two, join Scott Adams' Locals. He is going to give loads of really good tidbits. I'm in there and he's going to give some really good tidbits. It's like $7 a month, something like that. He's going to give really good tidbits ongoing about public speaking. It's going to be really useful to get that information. Join his Locals, really. Now, number three, learn how to sell. Learn how to sell, even if you don't want selling to be part of your job. Even if you hate selling, still learn. This is something that I've worked really hard to put into my skill stack. I went so far as to take a huge pay cut to go and sell milk from door to door for the milkman. It was incredibly painful for me. It was difficult. And I was with a guy, great guy, John, who he was just a natural, just an absolute natural. And it was incredibly painful for me every day. But it was a pain I had to push through and learn in order to become good at sales, in order to be able to talk to people. And it's a great situation because people don't want to talk to you at the door. So It's making you, I had to go through that process. Now, I only did it for a few weeks, but it was still great training. Really, really great training. So that's third one. Then number 4, for sales, just as part of this, get the Wolf of Wall Street's book. It's like a €10, whatever. Get the Wolf of Wall Street's book, where he goes through his whole program. Tells you about how to write a script. Tells you about how to do sales. Really, really, really important. And 2 other little things as well. Great course. The ABCs of public speaking, Skillshare. Skillshare is cheap. It's, I don't know what it is, let's say $10 a month, something like that. The ABCs of public speaking you get on Skillshare. Great course. Great course. Go through that. You need to learn about public speaking. Go through that in general. And it's very important to learn how to write scripts as well. So that's why I'm saying get a Wolf of Wall Street's book. Learn how to read a script without sounding like you're reading a script. And the last thing, practice. Practice. The first time you're going to do it is going to be terrible. Practice doing it on your phone. Put it up to YouTube and put it up on lists so no one can see it. You don't have to put anything online, but practice. Do it terrible first. I tell the story about the very first time I put a YouTube video out. It was a testimonial for Sam Crowley, the Everyday Saturday guy, and it was horrible. And I spent probably months and months, probably years, just getting rid of the ums and ahs and you know is a big thing for me. You know. Kept saying that. So you got to work that out of your speech. And it's going to take some time, but it's important work. You should definitely do it. So learn how to public speak. It is so, so important. It's the number 1 skill that Scott Adams says you should have in your skill stack. It's been Alan here from Look for Warriors, talking about Scott Adams' skill stack. Learn how to public speak.